mule hits his head on the gate going out of the farmer's driveway, and it kills him. And the farmer feels bad about that, so he says, well, you know, just let me give you your money back. You don't have to buy a dead mule. And they said, no, we'll take it. Well, he thought that was pretty strange, and a couple weeks later he saw those guys in town, and he said, what'd you ever do with that dead mule? And they said, oh, we raffled it off. He said, you what? He said, yeah, we made $500. He said, well, you know, didn't that cause a problem? And he said, well, the only person that was mad was the guy that won, and we gave him his money back. There you go. Now, my name is Bill Lepp, and I am a 5-time champion of the West Virginia Liars Contest. And the Liars Contest is an annual event held in Charleston every Memorial Day weekend. It's part of the Vandalia Gathering, which is a celebration of traditional Appalachian arts and culture that's been going on for about the last 35 years. The Vandalia Gathering is primarily a music festival, old-time music festival with banjo contests and fiddle contests. But in 1983, a man named Ken Sullivan decided that since oral history had played such an important role in Appalachian culture, that there ought to be some sort of storytelling facet to the Vandalia Gathering, and so he introduced the idea of the Liars Contest. But he did tell me that he had to promise the powers that be that it would be an amateur contest only, and that therefore politicians would not be allowed to enter. Now, the first year that I won the contest, aside from being a champion liar, I also served 4 years as a United Methodist pastor. And, the first year that I won the contest, a Presbyterian pastor won 2nd place. And another Methodist minister won 3rd place. So they did consider banning clergy as well after that. I then got a job working for the West Virginia Division of Culture and History, which runs the Liars Contest. Therefore, I could no longer enter the Liars Contest. But I think that does go to show you that if you lie well enough, long enough, eventually the government will hire you. Now, this is my full-time job. I've been very fortunate. I'm a professional storyteller. I get to travel all over the country and see all kinds of wonderful things, telling stories. And I was out in a place called Ojai, California a few years ago. And Ojai is about 15 miles inland from Ventura Beach. Sets about 800 feet up in the mountains. And I was staying in a cabin. And behind my cabin there were several thousand acres of land which a local nature conservancy group had purchased. And they'd run a whole bunch of hiking trails through there. Well, I got up one morning and decided I'd take a hike. And when I got down to the parking area, there was a notice board. And in the middle of the notice board was an 8x10 computer printout with a color picture of a very ferocious-looking mountain lion on it. And the sign said, warning, mountain lions have been spotted in this area. Well, I'm from Charleston, West Virginia. We don't have a lot of mountain lions in Charleston. So I took this more as a precursor to an adventure than an actual warning. But the sign went on to describe what you should do if you encounter a mountain lion. And the first thing it said is you should try and look as big as possible. And then it said you should stare the mountain lion in the eyes and back away. And the third thing you're supposed to do, it said if the mountain lion attacks. And I thought this was particularly prudent. It said if the mountain lion attacks, fight back. Well, that made good sense to me. So I started hiking, and sure enough, about 10 minutes later, I came around a curve in the path, and there, standing in the middle of the path, with his claws out and his fangs bared, was the biggest, meanest, ugliest, nastiest chipmunk that I had ever seen. But right behind him, with his claws out and his fangs bared, was the biggest, meanest, ugliest, nastiest mountain lion I had ever seen. And both of them were pretty happy to see me. Because that chipmunk wasn't going to be breakfast anymore, and that mountain lion was going to get a lot more to eat than he had been planning on. So the first thing that happened was that chipmunk shot off into the underbrush. And the next thing I knew, I was staring eye to eye with a hungry mountain lion. Well, I knew that I was supposed to try and look as big as possible. But that seemed sort of counterproductive to me. So I just sort of turned sideways, sucked in my gut and pulled up my t-shirt. I wanted that mountain lion to see my ribs. I wanted him to think that I was the breakfast equivalent of a Pop-Tart. A pre-wrapped pastry not worth going to any trouble for. But apparently that's exactly what he was in the mood for, because he crouched down and got ready to spring. Well, it was way too late to start backing away. So I realized I was going to have to fight this mountain lion. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd never fought a mountain lion before. And the only thing I could think to do is what Tarzan does in Edgar Rice Burroughs' novels when he fights lions. And what Tarzan does is he crouches down like this. And when the lion springs, Tarzan gets up under his front legs, turns him around, puts him in a full Nelson, and knocks him out. Well, it wasn't much, but it was all I had. And I know you're thinking Tarzan's a lot bigger than you, buddy, but then I figure Africa lions are a lot bigger than California lions, so I was hoping the ratio would work out. So I crouched down, and sure enough, he sprung at me, and I got up under his front legs. I turned him around, I put him in a full Nelson, and I was doing everything I could to knock him out. And to be honest with you, he was pretty angry. But I think he was a lot more embarrassed than he was angry. I mean, just imagine walking into your kitchen one morning and a Pop-Tart jumps up out of the toaster.